Hey everyone, Karolyne Roberts here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 signs your relationship just might be over. So if you're interested in watching more, then definitely stay tuned. Hey everyone, so lately I've been doing some videos on my channel talking more about relationships and marriage, and also for those of you singles out there who just want direction on your dating life and what relationships you should be in, what relationships you should avoid, what are all the red flags to look out for. I've just been making more content around that topic, okay? So in today's video, we're going to be talking about 3 signs that your relationship is over and maybe it's time to let go of that toxic relationship and just, be okay with being with yourself for a little while, being okay with getting to know yourself and growing and waiting for the next best thing that God has for you. All right, so my first tip or sign that your relationship might be over and it might be time to let it go is if that person is not remorseful, they're not repentant, they don't like to say sorry, they don't like to apologize. That's really an issue of pride. In order for a relationship to work, both parties have to be able to recognize when they hurt the other, when they make a mistake, and they have to be able to have that sort of compassion and be willing to change and work on those things. Not necessarily change who you are as a person, but change your actions to really show that, hey, we're working on something, I'm growing as a person. If that person just keeps hurting you over and over and over and over, and they say sorry and they say they apologize, but they don't really mean it, and they go back and keep doing the same thing over and over again, then their actions are saying that they're not really remorseful. They're not really repentant of what they've done. And I like the word repent, and we use it in Christianity when we talk about repenting to God. And the word repent means to completely turn away. So this is more than just, oh, I'm sorry, and then I go back and do the same thing. This is, I'm sorry, babe, I'm working on it, I'm growing, and I'm going to show that through my actions. So, you want to make sure that you have someone who is humble enough to own up and take responsibility when they are wrong, take responsibility for their actions, and to be able to work towards that so that you both can move beyond that. So that is the first sign. If you don't see that humility there, and if you just see pride and they're afraid to admit when they're wrong, that is the first sign that maybe this relationship is not going to work out and maybe you can just let it go. All right, so let's talk about the next sign. The next sign that this may be the end of the relationship is when trust has been lost and it can't be rebuilt. And trust is such an integral, foundational, and important part of every relationship. And maybe your trust was lost. And I'm not saying that if trust was lost, then that means all is lost, right? I have seen so many amazing relationships where maybe there was a loss of trust, but they were able to build that back up. And as a disclaimer, this video, I'm not talking about marriage, okay? I'm talking about if you are dating someone who you're considering for marriage, and this can maybe even apply to friendships, your relationship, this may be a sign that your relationship is over. If you are married, these could be red flags that you need to go to counseling and work on your marriage and, talk about some things. But if you are dating, this may be a red flag. Maybe this won't work out. Maybe this is not the person that I should marry, okay? So if trust is lost, it's very important for you guys to figure out why that trust was lost, and it has to go both ways. So the person who lost the trust has to be able to be willing to earn that trust back, and the person who had their trust broken has to be willing to give the other person an opportunity to gain their trust. If one person on one end of either spectrum is not willing to compromise in that way, is not willing. So for example, if the person whose trust was broken, if you're not willing to forgive, if you're not willing to give that other person an opportunity to gain your trust, you can't have a relationship without trust. That's basically the end of it. And on the other end, and this kind of just piggybacking on the first point, if that person, is not willing to apologize, and if they don't even want to regain your trust and they just keep doing the same thing over and over, and they're not willing to, work to regain that trust back, then that means they don't care enough to put that type of effort in that relationship, and trust is so essential. So that is the second point, the second sign that this may be the end of this relationship. If there is no trust, trust has been broken, and the parties are not working together on either side to get it back to that place where it really needs to be. All right, so let's move on to the third point. The third point that this may be, the end of this relationship is if there are blocks and barriers in communication. Communication is so important. Like, what is a relationship without communication? Like, think of your closest relationships in your life, your best friend, your husband, your mom, whatever close relationship you have to you. Would it be the same if you guys never talked, right? And when I talk about blocks and barriers of communication, I'm not just talking about the frequency of communication. I'm also talking about the way you communicate. How do you communicate to one another? Do you communicate in a loving way? Do you communicate in a respectful way? Or are you being petty? Are you tearing one another down with your words? Are you always being argumentative? Are you being condescending? Not just how much you communicate, but how you communicate to your spouse is so important. And being able to understand, communication is not only just talking and being heard and having your ideas heard. Communication is also listening and understanding. Like, that is a big part of communication. You may be great at sharing your ideas and sharing how you feel and expressing your emotions, but how are you listening to how your partner feels and them expressing their emotions and responding to that? And it's important that, when you're in a relationship, you're able to communicate and be on the same page and have that shared vision and that shared perspective and go in the same direction. One of my favorite verses, Amos 3:3, it says, how can two walk together if they do not be agreed? And how can you be in a relationship? How can you walk together towards something if you're not in agreement? And to have an agreement, you must first communicate the terms of that agreement. Communicate what you need. Communicate what's important to you. Communicate what the vision is, what you're working towards, what you desire out of that relationship. What is the purpose? Why does God have you guys together? If you're not able to communicate those things effectively, in the right way, in the way that you communicate lovingly, and if you're not even able to communicate at all, if the person stops calling you, they're not talking to you anymore, they're ignoring you, they're not responding to your calls, then maybe that's a sign that, just let it go. Maybe that's a sign that this relationship is over. I feel led to share with you guys to definitely check out one of my videos here on this channel. If you recently went through a hard breakup and you feel discouraged and you feel sad and it was hard for you to let go of that relationship, I want to encourage you. You're not alone. Many people have gone through this. I have gone through it, and I know it's not easy. But I just want to encourage you to cherish this moment that you have to yourself, to discover who you are, and to just love on yourself, and to have some me time, and to have some God time, and to focus more on growing your relationship with the Lord. Check out that video because I really think that it would encourage you. So I'll put the link right here for you to check it out. But these are the signs. If you see these signs, if you see these red flags, this is an opportunity to work on your relationship. And the three things that propel a relationship forward and move it forward, which are the opposite of what we said are signs that it may be ending, is having someone who's humble. Humility really helps to move a relationship forward, because if you're willing to apologize and be humble and see your own faults and own up to them, then that really helps the relationship to progress. having trust, right? Having trust is going to be essential in your relationship, and also having that communication is key. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, definitely leave it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time on my channel, do not forget to subscribe and to stay up to date with what's happening with our channel, with our community, and with this ministry. Check out Karolyne.com for our upcoming events and all that good stuff. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next YouTube video. Until next time, bye.